Okay, so this is 2020 Nissan Rogue. We've been driving this around for a little while. It's not a bad looking car. The front of it is probably its best view. The side's kind of like almost looks like a CRV. And this blue is like way too blue. But do a little review on this, my thoughts, impressions, my wife's thoughts and impressions driving this thing around, and I'll let you know what we think. Okay, this is the SV model, the all-wheel drive. This is what your key fob's gonna look like. And you do get the key, I guess, for the door. I don't know how you would replace batteries in these. It kind of looks difficult. There's no screws or tabs. I don't know how that's done or how long these batteries last. But you got your panic, got your trunk release, lock unlock, and then something to do with Bluetooth here. So we're going to open the trunk up, and I'm going to show you what Nissan did here in the back, which I think is pretty cool. And I think other manufacturers should take a note off of this. These little shelves that they got in here that can do, you can put them in different positions. Of course I have them like that. That's pretty cool. This one even goes up like that, so you can like hide stuff. And I haven't even seen all the ways you can do this yet playing with it, but I like that. You know, you can hide a lot of stuff under there, pocketbooks or wallets or whatever, so that's pretty cool. Under here you got your, yeah, it looks like a donut. See, we got seats. I don't know, is there another strap? Looks kind of difficult to get them to pull down. Probably had to do them from the other way. I'm still learning a lot on this car. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So it's not completely flat. There's a slight angle where it's running down. That's not too bad. Separate for the middle. So I guess you can have the middle down without having these down. And they do recline a little bit, which is nice. They also move forward, which I guess for your cargo space, that's cool. You're not going to be able to move it too far forward unless you take that headrest out. But it's nice to have the option. I don't think anybody else has second row seats in small SUVs that do that. And that's quite a bit that they go all the way up. So there you can see the difference with one seat all the way up. So that's interesting. That's a nice feature. I like that. The space back here is pretty good. These second row seats are higher than the front. You can see it. It's higher. It's almost like theater seating, which if you're stuck back here, it's nice because you can see where you're going. It's not like you're just looking at the back of the headrest. You actually can see up and above a little bit. So that's a nice feature. I like that as well. This center armrest is nice and tall, so not a bad spot to be. Not a bad spot to be. It's got pretty decent room. I'm 6 foot tall. You got some vents back here. I don't think there's any USB ports or anything back here. Basically, just this. Like I said, this is the SV model. I don't know what other models are going to have. Here, if you want to close the back, it's motorized. You really can't. I mean, I guess you can. Doesn't sound like it likes to work that way. So you got, you know, your standard button, or you can hold the key fob, and that's how long it takes. Let's see, you got some controls here. There's a sport mode, an eco mode, an all-wheel drive lock, which I haven't really read up on yet. Your hood release, gas, another button for the back. Traction control, and I'm not sure what that is. We're gonna have to investigate that. You do have heated seats in this model. It's got a USB plug here and a small jack. I don't know if that's to put wire in a phone music, maybe with your headphone jack, maybe. It does have a manual shift mode. If you bring the gear shift back and over, you can go up and down and manually shift the, transmission. It's a CVT, so you're not really in here. Another USB, another 12-volt jack. Doesn't move. Very huge glove compartment. Now, Nissan always does their seats good, and these seats are better than the RAV4, they're better than the CX-5, and they're better than the CR-V. That's one thing I will give Nissan credit for, and they've always been that way. Their seats have always been pretty good. So even this is a lower model, subcompact, you still get pretty decent seats. Okay, here's the engine. I open this up and I'm looking, where's the prop for the hood? I don't see it. Usually it's right here. Now, Nissan put it here. So that's a little different. I'm assuming it goes in there. I don't have many specs on the engine size. I know the engine is 170 horsepower. So it's a little bit down. I think the Hondas and the Mazdas are up around 185, give or take a few. So it's going to be down a little bit on power as compared to those two. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit compared to CR-V, CX-5. One dislike immediately that we both agreed on was the CVT. Don't like the CVT. Sometimes it feels like it's surging up and down. Even when you're trying to just hold a steady speed, you'll see the RPMs going up and down. Yeah, it's a little warm. You agree? Yeah. And acceleration, it sounds like you're going fast. You're not really going fast. In fact, if there's no traffic, why don't you give it to it? Let's see. So I can watch the speedo after this truck goes by. Is that floored? No. Gets angry when you do that.
It tacks so high, but it
well, that's CVTs, to get the power that you're not actually shifting a transmission, it's just changing race gears on the belt. But I'd say it's probably, we timed it yesterday, and it was around 9 seconds. I think it was a high 8. It looked like that from a complete stock floored 0 to 60. So like I said, it's only got 170 horsepower. It's not going to be tearing up the roads. But ride, it rides smooth to you. I think it rides smooth. It feels kind of a little bit on the stiff side. It doesn't have a lot of body roll going around the corners, but where I think it cheaps out a little bit is the suspension. Like, you can hear it when you hit bumps, and there is noise, on rough roads. It's not as settled as, I would say, Honda.
No.
Now, another thing that you said that was good was you immediately felt comfortable driving this car. It felt, the braking, the steering, everything was very natural, right?
Easy to get used to.
Yeah, whereas other vehicles such as the CX-5, we're having not issues, but the braking is different. I'm going to do a video on that later on. But this one is kind of like the Honda feel, where they get it just feels natural, a lot of the things in the car.
The steering wheel has more play. It's easier to steer, and the braking is not touchy. If that makes sense, or maybe it's less touchy. The Mazda's more touchy. I don't know. It's easier. It's easier to brake on this. It feels more natural.
What about the controls and the climates and all that and the buttons? Everything's where you think it should be and works fine for you?
Yeah, I knew where I was.
Dash. Steering. So you wouldn't want to keep this car?
No.
No. What about the looks of the car from the outside? Like, you don't like it? You don't like the looks? No. It's kind of similar to the CR-V from the side. From the side, it is. The front's different. What about the headlights at night? Are they decent? Any complaints about them?
I haven't noticed.
No.
So I guess not.
I'll tell you one thing I did notice is the climate. You know, you got dual zones, but it's like you can crank this all the way up to, now I'm at 75. It's still blowing cold air out of here. And this vehicle's warm. It's funny, it's like you can go all the way up to still just a little bit warm. 80, that's a little bit warmer. But if you really want the heat, all of a sudden it gets very hot, like around 90. There's no like gradual. It's either, you know, 78, which should be pretty warm and it still feels cold, or, you know, somewhere close to 90 if you really want heat. Have you noticed that? I noticed that yesterday.
I like that it's dual though.
Yeah, I do too.
Because if you have someone that's really cold.
I think Nissan gives you a lot of
I like the butt warmers.
yeah, dual seat warmers. No cooling in this model, but yeah, I think Nissan gives you a lot of features that you get on, that you have to pay extra for on other brands, put it that way. Did you know that in the back the shelf is adjustable? I really like that. There's two different sections for that shelf, and you can make different levels. You can hide things. I'll have to show it to you later. There's the back view. The cargo compartment is much smaller than a CR-V or a CX-5 or a RAV4. You give up a lot back there. That's where they're taking it at. But the second row area is bigger than most by a little bit. Do you know those second row seats slide back and forth? I'm not sure how often you would use that, but it's nice that they do that. You can slide those seats all the way forward, which is a neat thing. So you're definitely not a fan of the CVTs, no matter, rather have a regular transmission. Too buzzy and...
I don't know, I can't say for sure if there was one with higher horsepower, if it would...
Yeah, maybe a more refined... I don't know, I know the Murano has a CVT, or I don't know how that would compare.
Because this just has no pickup.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going fast, but you don't actually go fast. You gonna pass this guy?
No, I can't.
I'll tell you what else I noticed is the front of the vehicle drops off so sharp you can't see where the front of the vehicle is, or like parking and stuff. You know, you can't tell where the front ends. So we're over a test. Here's the load of groceries. Let's see how they go. Yeah, so I put it in sport mode. Let's see how it does off this. I noticed the steering is at slow speeds in parking lots, it's very light. Like there's I guess it's probably an electric assist to it, but it's very, very, very light. Like
Easy to steer.
Easy to steer. If you were an older person or something, I mean, good grief, you can. This is a dead stop, and I can turn the wheel with one finger. So that's a nice feature. nice design feature.
Yeah, I did like that about it too.
And like you said the other day, I don't know if all cars with the push button starts do it, but you said you turned the car off, but you had the radio on. The radio stayed on until you opened the door, and then the radio shut off.
Yeah.
Which is nice if you're, you know, watching kids play a sports game or waiting for somebody and you don't need the car on. That's floored. I think there's a 7. It tries to mimic a 7 speed. You definitely notice speed in this car though. Like the CX-5 is deceptive. You think you're only going 50, you look down and you're doing like 65 or 70. And this one, at 60, you really feel like you're going 60. Good or bad, take it for what it is. So now as an eco, put it in eco mode, the shift points are much earlier. The car feels much slower. For everyday driving around town, it would be fine. Another complaint though is the gas mileage on this car is not that good. I don't even know how to find it, but we were only getting what, 21?
Yeah, there it goes.
Oh, you got the tire pressures? Look at that, okay.
There it is.
21.4, that is not that good. You know, the CRV was, we had a 2012, that was around 26, right?
No, when the engine was good.
Yeah.
Now it's probably like 23, 24.
Okay. But to have a lower horsepower engine and a CVT and get worse gas mileage, I don't know. Where did they drop the ball on that? You would think it would be the other way around. You'd be getting better gas mileage. And this is
because the engine's not broken.
Could be. I mean, what do we got on here? 1,500 miles. So yeah, that's true. It could get a little bit better as it wears in. But still, at 21, I think I would expect at least 26 off the beginning and improve upon that, not start out at 21. I mean,
That says average. I don't know what that means.
that's pretty pathetic.